Welcome to this Euradia meeting, Shaping the Future of Research in Europe for the Benefit of People with Diabetes. Thank you very much for coming. You may have not realized it, but this is actually a living experiment. It's the first time, to my knowledge, that there has been a symposium on the occasion of an ESD meeting organized and focused on people with diabetes and the general public, which doesn't mean to say that the one or two scientist colleagues who have turned up are not welcome. Of course they are. But this is our first attempt at an outreach program to communicate the science that's going on within Europe to the general public. So we'd be most grateful to have your feedback as to whether this has been a successful experiment or not. I'd like to start with a very brief introduction to the DIAMAP project, and do please, if you haven't done so already, pick up the summary brochure from the table at the entrance to this hall. This project was completed, as I think most of you know, last year, but serves as a useful platform for this afternoon's meeting. A brief introduction to Euradia. Again, you will find all the members at the back of your brochure. 6 leading non-profit organizations, associations and foundations with an interest in diabetes research, and the major pharmaceutical and diabetes care companies, with a view to advocating for better support for European research, a better coordinated European research enterprise. Why? What are the challenges? Well, I think we would all agree that diabetes research is underfunded, with expertise that is underexploited. There's a lack of coordination and no vision of future direction until the DIAMAP project was born. There's inadequate infrastructure and not enough focus on people with diabetes. So the first solution to this problem was the DIAMAP project, which was the first ever disease-specific roadmap supported by the European Commission. And there were 6 key recommendations coming out of the roadmap report. These are all in the summary, of course. I'd just like to go through them very quickly, highlighting the major recommendations, and it'll give you a feeling for the sort of work and vision coming out of the DIAMAP project. So how did we build the roadmaps? It was multidisciplinary, involving all diabetes stakeholders: researchers, clinicians, health professionals, representatives from industry, people with diabetes, with the broadest possible view of diabetes research, from the very smallest, molecules and cells, all the way through, of course, to clinical research, epidemiological research, and also public health and health economics research. The first key chapter and recommendation was to revolutionize the translation of basic science innovations for the benefit of people with diabetes. And people with diabetes included special populations in hospitals and institutions, children, older adults, pregnant women and the newborn, and socially deprived groups. Of particular relevance to the ever-growing European Union and the mass movements of peoples from one country to another, bringing with them their particular problems, specifically relating to diabetes, that are going to have to be addressed through an increased research effort. And this revolution should be facilitated by the creation of a European platform for clinical research in diabetes. This will make research more competitive, improve coordination, develop patient registries, offer common resources, and favor closer collaboration between all stakeholders, including industry. And finally, and most importantly, for this audience, guarantee equal access to and benefit from clinical research for people with diabetes across Europe. And that is very much not the case right now. The second key focus was on developing novel strategies to predict and prevent type 1 and type 2 diabetes and their complications, with specific recommendations including understanding the environmental and genetic factors. And this went way beyond the conventional environmental factors, including, for example, urban design and architecture and impact on quality of life. And secondly, testing prevention strategies in both individuals and populations. And there was a common theme throughout DIAMAC, with a great emphasis on personalized medicine and on the individual with diabetes in addition to the population with diabetes. The next group focused on curing and preventing diabetes by restoring and preserving beta cell mass and function. This will be taken up again by Thomas Mantrop-Poulsen in his presentation, and also in part by Miriam Knop, as you will see in a minute. And the specific recommendations included understanding molecular mechanisms of beta cell function and defects in diabetes, and developing strategies to enhance beta cell defense, repair, and regeneration. More about that in a second. There was a major emphasis on, obviously, lifestyle intervention strategies, but again, with personalized diet and exercise approaches to preventing type 2 diabetes. The focus here was also on insulin resistance and diabetes associated with obesity. And the specific recommendations included understanding molecular and genetic basis of insulin resistance, and developing interventions for healthy aging in people with diabetes. Another cross-cutting topic, healthy aging, which, as you all know, is going to be a major focus in the next period of research support from the European Commission. And healthy aging is going to be one of the 1 or 2 or 3 limited major pillars of research. If diabetes research expects, as it does, to be well supported in the next framework program, we are going to have to pay very special attention to linking our interests to healthy aging. Obviously, a focus on micro and macrovascular complications, understanding the underlying molecular mechanisms and genetics. Only in this way will we ultimately be able to develop tailor-made therapy for diabetic complications, and the aim, again, to develop therapies including those for personalized medicine. And finally, the group that Cliff Bailey chaired, and you'll be hearing from Cliff in a minute too, was to improve coordination and competitiveness of diabetes research in Europe. We are not as effective as we should be through lack of coordination and vision. There is a lack of political and public appreciation of the magnitude of the diabetes problem and the need for more research. And as we go out to politicians, as I often do with Anne Felton from FEND, who's sitting in the back here, we are always struck by the lack of understanding at the general political level and the highest political level of leadership as to what the burden of diabetes actually is. What is this all about? And almost inevitably, when we come up with diabetes, we're told, well, we can't do anything for a special single disease. We can't promote diabetes research because we have to think of everybody. So we say, well, what about cancer? Well, yes, obviously cancer is important. Enough of that. But it's up to our community to make sure that we get the message across. And the specific recommendations including encouraging more academic and industry collaboration, improve recruitment, training and mobility of young investigators, breaking down national barriers to harmonize European research. We're not very good at that right now. And finally, improving understanding of the importance of diabetes research for people and society, as I've just mentioned. So why are we all here today? Obviously, because there is this very high prevalence of diabetes across the globe, but also in Europe, that it is expected to increase in all European countries. I don't need to tell this audience of that particular problem and of these statistics. The need to go out and speak to our politicians both within our own countries, but also specifically at the European Parliament and European Council, is going to be critical for this endeavour. And our last speaker today, Joan Weiss, will be speaking about the reason why and the importance of the planned European resolution on diabetes, possibly, and we hope, in a more general way, on non-communicable diseases.